From the outside looking in, Sean Ross Weeb seemed to have a clean sheet with nothing but a ticket for distracted driving and failing to remain on the scene of an accident in 2017. But no one could be prepared for the horror that he caused on the night of March 15th, 2018 that resulted in the tragic death of Heather Barker. Hey guys, I'm Jordan and welcome back to another episode of Murder in My Bedroom. If you are new, welcome. Please hit subscribe. It really helps out the podcast in the early stages. Last week, we discussed the double murder of Robert and Robbie Ford. If you haven't checked that out, please be sure to. Murder in My Bedroom is now available on iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and many more podcast platforms. Visit the podcast website to see all available platforms. Please remember this is a real case that deals with real victims and real families, so I ask that you please be respectful to the family, friends, and the community of Vernon. Heather Marie Barker was born to Deborah and Jeffrey on September 12, 1990 in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Heather moved to Langley, British Columbia in 1996, where she completed her high school diploma at Brookswood Secondary School. Langley was established in 1873 and currently has a population of 138,453. Langley is great for shopping and dining, recreational opportunities, and community events with over 346 acres of parkland. Heather had 3 daughters, Madison, Janessa, and Michaela. There's very little information on Heather's background, let alone her children, but I believe it is important to maintain the privacy of the children and family members. Heather was known to have a caring, thoughtful, and warm-hearted nature and showed these qualities in her mothership. She was only 37 when she unfortunately passed. Sean Ross Weeb was born in 1977 in a very small town in Herbert, Sask. Its population was reported to be less than 800. He graduated from the University of Saskatchewan in 2002 and was immediately recruited to come work in Vernon. He worked at a Target pharmacy for some time. In April 2015, following the closing of the pharmacy in Target, Weeb opened up his own much smaller pharmacy, Weeb's Pharmacy, in the downtown Discovery Plaza on 35th Street. According to Vernon Morning Star, the new pharmacy was focused on keeping people healthy and providing great customer service. It was open 7 days a week. He mostly worked by himself, except for when his wife came to help him out. This is more than a retail store. I'm about personal service and providing the one-on-one experience, said Weeb. Soon after the grand opening, his marriage had broken down and his ex-wife had left Vernon with their son. Some time had passed and Weeb and Barker had met. I would like to clarify more on the early stages of their relationship, but there is very little coverage on that. Weeb and Barker were in an intimate relationship at the time of the tragedy, and it is reported that they had moved in together in August of 2017, less than 8 months before the crime was committed. To clarify, Barker lived in a housing complex on Cordon Place at the rise in which Weeb moved in. Barker worked at Weeb's Pharmacy until her passing. According to reports, both were struggling with issues with alcohol, illicit drug use, and depression. Prosecutors say their relationship was pretty turbulent. A construction worker at a site across the street from the Barkers' home told the media he witnessed something unusual days before her death when a woman came out on the deck. I heard yelling. It kind of sounded like she said, "Help me." And then the guy came out. Then I was told she was brought back inside, said Jacob Sparling in 2018. Weeb also was taking steroids, which prosecutors had also noted had potential side effects of increased aggression and paranoia. On August 15, 2018, the night of the misfortune, both Weeb and Barker were reported to be drinking. Weeb accused Barker of taking narcotics from his pharmacy and demanded to look inside Barker's purse. A struggle ensued and Weeb pushed Barker onto the floor. Neighbors heard yelling and shouting coming from the house. She got up and sat on the edge of the bed as Weeb continued to interrogate her about the drugs. He then grabbed her hair, threw her on the ground, jumped onto her, and repeatedly smashed her head against the floor. Weeb at this point was described as enraged and seeing red. Barker's last words to Weeb were, "Stop, you are going to kill me." Around 2 a.m., Weeb called his sister in Saskatchewan and told her that Barker was breathing irregularly. His sister's husband called 911 after she had stopped breathing, and the operator later instructed Weeb to perform CPR, which he did. Barker was found unconscious and was taken to the Vernon Jubilee Hospital by ambulance, where it was found that she had numerous injuries, including bruising, broken ribs, and brain injuries that were observable on a CT scan. Barker never regained consciousness and she was put on life support. The following day, she passed after being taken off of life support. A celebration of Heather's life took place on Friday, June 29th, 2018 at Pleasant Valley Funeral Home. Weeb's Pharmacy closed down in May 2018, months after Barker's death. According to the College of Pharmacists of British Columbia, Sean had his registration suspended on December 27, 2019, almost 2 years after the death of Heather. The inquiry committee was satisfied that there is sufficient evidence that the registrant suffers from a substance addiction that renders him unfit to practice at this time. The notice continued, the inquiry committee was of the view that the registrant's continued practice poses a risk to the public and that this risk cannot be addressed at this time with the conditions or limits. Therefore, nothing short of suspension at this time will adequately protect the public. He is no longer listed on the college's directory of registered pharmacists. On January 17, 2021, Weeb was arrested and charged with manslaughter. He was also charged with assault causing bodily harm. This charge stems from an incident that took place weeks before Barker died, most likely referring to the statement from Starling. Police say a comprehensive and exhaustive investigation took place, which led to the charges being laid almost 3 years after Barker died. He was held in jail until he secured bail and was released on June 3rd of that year. On May 1st of this year, Weeb appeared in court by video and pleaded guilty to the charge. It was noted by his defense that Weeb had not breached his bail conditions in 2 years. Weeb had also taken treatment for his drug and alcohol issues and sought treatment for depression. This likely occurred after his defense team probably encouraged him to do so. The court heard Weeb had faced numerous challenges between 2015 and the date of the killing. It was noted that Weeb had not seen his son in years. Weeb was in a downward spiral, substantially abusing alcohol and steroids, said Justice Beams. Several victim impact statements were read aloud, including statements by Barker's 3 daughters. The eldest daughter described the loss of her mother as a void in my heart that will never be filled. Before receiving his sentence, Weeb was given the opportunity to address the court. Weeb said he never intended to kill Barker and expressed remorse to the family. I am sorry and I do have regret, he said. He was sentenced to 4 years less credit for time served, which was 200 days, meaning he was sentenced to a total of 1,261 days. He was also given a 10-year prohibition on possessing weapons and a no-contact order with several family members of the victim's family. Archway Society, a women's advocacy organization that provides supportive services for survivors of domestic and sexual violence, has been very vocal about their disappointment in Weeb's sentence. One of the many things I have learned over the years is that we have a legal system, not a justice system. A system that focuses on legal procedures, legal precedents, and legal principles, etc. Mickey Materi of the Archway Society said, Crown represents the people, not the victims. The victims are witnesses in criminal matters. So how is justice really served? We certainly don't see justice in this case. What is justice to a family that lost their mother in such a horrific, needless way? Heather isn't here to present her voice with the circumstances surrounding her death. And yes, the loss of Heather isn't just to her family and her community. The potential for humanity is lost whenever a woman is murdered. Sherry Dimitrick with the Archway Society pointed to another spousal murder where sentencing played out just a week earlier. Billy Joe was sentenced to 14 years in prison for the manslaughter death of her husband. Obviously, there are differences between the cases, but the commonality is that these are both manslaughter convictions but have significant variances in sentencing, she said. Both sentences were reached by joint submission by Crown Counsel and defense. In the case of Bennett, she pleaded guilty to fatally stabbing her husband. Bennett pleaded guilty earlier in the process. Weeb ran to his family's home in the prairies and confessed his crimes to an undercover operative. That's when he was arrested. Heather died at the hands of her partner, someone who's supposed to love her and support her and respect her. It's just so heartbreaking, and I don't know what an appropriate sentence would be for that, said Dimitrick. The fact that the sentence is so light, she said, speaks to a culture of domestic violence just not being considered as significant or treated appropriately. It's an issue that needs to change because in recent years, incidents of violence against women have only increased. More on this well-written article by Kathy Michaels of Global News, source below. It is through her children that we will remember all the good that Heather had to offer throughout her time on Earth. What are your opinions or thoughts on Sean's sentencing? I'm curious to see what some of you have to say about this case. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Murder in My Bedroom. Today's sources are digitalmemory.com, the city of Langley, worldpopulationreview.com, Infotel, VernonMorningstar.com, and Global News. All sources are linked below. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed this episode and follow Murder in My Bedroom on all social medias. Contact Murder in My Bedroom podcast at gmail.com for any inquiries or case requests. That concludes today's episode, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Special thanks to Festlane Studios for the royalty-free soundtracks. You can listen to Murder in My Bedroom in the car, on the treadmill, or even in the shower. Be sure to check out Murder in My Bedroom on Spotify Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast platforms you may listen on. Please subject all case requests to murderinmybedroompodcast at gmail.com. Thanks for listening.